Oh, hello. How are you?
Great, how are you?
Oh, just so lovely. I have already hit record, so you're good.
Yes,
And there
love
was
that.
nothing that you didn't not want to talk about. So I'm gonna do a tiny little intro for you, and
Let's
we're
do
just
it.
gonna get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another amazing episode of the What the Fluff podcast. I am honored to be in the presence of the amazing Miss NickNaks94, Facebook streamer, content creator extraordinaire, amazing human. So happy to have you here and to get to have a little bit more of a conversation with you. So,
Oh, thank you so much for the invite.
of course, how are you today?
I'm amazing, thank you. How are you?
Oh, just so lovely. So I wanted to start with because you were actually one of the few people that I regularly game with who was going through the switch from your old full-time job to then content creation. So I would just love to know your journey with that and what's got you into streaming. How did that all happen? And then I'm just
Oh,
gonna annoyingly ask questions in between to get you off track.
I love that. I love that. So I started streaming just over a year and a half ago. And I've only recently, since August, it just went full time with it. So it's
Oh
very,
yeah.
very new for me to actually start doing this full time. I actually got into streaming purely because decided I wanted to play a bit more competitively to like meet other like players, but also to game with other females.
Nice.
Before streaming, I literally had never played with another like girl before online, or really branched out to play with other gamers.
Yeah.
So it was because I was put forward for a tournament basically to join a girls team, an all girls team, and the requirement for that is you had to stream. So
Interesting.
I started up a stream one night after being entered in this tournament, like a tryout, and I was literally on my bedroom floor on my Xbox,
No
and
way.
yep, streamed on Twitch like once, and yeah, literally after my first stream, I was thinking, this is incredible, this is amazing, and kind of fell in love with the world of streaming. And before I used to watch streamers, I never thought I would do it myself. Do you get what I mean?
Really?
I'd
So
always
streaming,
enjoy.
so streams were a part of your life even before.
A little bit, yeah, like, definitely not as much as they were now, but, like, I'd kind of, like, watch some streams, like, especially, like, before going to bed, I kinda, like, just put a couple of streams on and watch in the background and stuff like that, but,
Who would you be
yeah.
watching?
Do you know what? Back then, it was mainly, like, Stone and Spark, like, them 2 were
Nice.
the main ones, because they were always on in the evenings when I was going to bed, because obviously I'm from the UK. So,
Okay.
they were kind of like the downtime that I would, like, flick it on and obviously just watch. But yeah, it's
S-
ever since then, I kinda done my first stream and then fell in love with it, and I thought this is a whole world that I just wanted to dive in and explore and just try out for myself, really.
That's so awesome. What game was it? Was it Warzone that you were playing?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so it was Warzone for it was like just a all girls team. And yeah, I just thought I'll go for it. But before then, I am a gamer, so I like actually play loads of
That
different
was going to be
games.
my next question.
Yeah.
So has gaming always been a thing for you, even since childhood?
Massive.
Nice.
Absolutely massive. And like even that goes all the way back from like when I was a kid, like, with my family, my mum was massive into gaming as well. So
Really?
yeah.
So
So
who was it? Was it your mom that got you into it, or was it a whole family affair, essentially?
I would say like a whole family affair, but mainly driven by my mum. So like we're very close, quite small, close family. So
That's
we
so
would all
cool.
be like on the front room, like on the floor, like all playing these games and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely all stems back from that moment, and then kind of just it's always been there. It's always been in my blood, I suppose.
No way. Do you recall, was there a special game from childhood that you recall, or was there a special? I don't know. I feel like I guess since it's always just been there, there's no like, oh,
Mm,
haha. Like it was just always what it was. Is that kind of
yeah,
how it was?
pretty much. There are like a few like defining games where I can remember like playing with the family, or like that I used to spend a lot of time on. And
What were those?
um I even like, so you like Baldur's Gate. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I've heard of Borderlands, but I've never Borders Gate.
Baldur's, so like BAL. Yeah, Baldur's Gate. They're actually bringing out number two next year, I believe.
Wait,
Super
spell it again.
excited. BALDAUR.
Balder.
Baldur's,
Oh,
Baldur's, yeah.
what is that?
It's kind of like um it's almost like multiple people on the same screen at the same time if you're playing like couch co-op,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
you just like kill people and stuff, and you kind of like go through. I would consider it's like really really early days of like open map.
Oh,
It
interesting.
was still
Okay.
quite closed map, but you kind of go where you want and the camera moves with you guys, like and you just like fight enemies, and you could have like dwarfs and elves and magic and
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, it was cool. So that very much like that was very much a family thing. I very much like Command and Conquer.
Nice.
Um, if I go into like the more childish games like Croc, like not
I
many
don't know what
people
that
remember
is.
Croc. Yeah, I use Spyro, Gex. There's just so
So
many.
you
I could
guys
list
played everything.
yeah.
It wasn't even just first person shooters. It wasn't just like y'all were literally just gaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Mm.
What did you ever find out what got your parents into gaming? Because I mean, I feel like that's relatively rare to have your parents be that into it.
Yeah.
Do you
I think they're
have you ever
just
talked about that?
naturally I think they're naturally very competitive. So even if it was like Monopoly, right? So even if it was just
And
like
okay.
board games and things like that, and then just naturally it kind of progressed into that. So my uncle was very much my part of my immediate family, and he is in the Navy. So instead of him getting his own place, he lived with us and came home when he wasn't deployed. So he would come home and he was always into like technology. So he would always be the bring the games and like we would always be like me and my sisters and my mum, and yeah, we were just all very competitive and always just like that kind of thing, really.
That's so this is still blowing my mind because it's not even just video games. Like y'all literally
No.
just like any form of competition where you could decide who was the better family member, y'all were in. Did it
Yes,
get heated?
definitely. Yeah, yeah, between my mum and uncle sometimes, because they're obviously they're siblings. So yeah, between them, it definitely got a little bit heated, which was quite funny. But
Have you ever
uh,
gotten angry?
no, surprisingly not. Surprisingly, it's just been like just fun to like hang out in game. Really, I mean, they got competitive that they needed to like leave the room and cool down. But like as
Oh
for
my
me and my
gosh.
sisters, like we were fine. We were very much just like okay.
Would there any
Yeah.
were there any scenarios of like the hey mom, let's like tone it down, or was everyone relatively good at self-regulating?
They were pretty good at self-regulating. It was all
Okay.
right. Or the game would just like pause for a minute or two and then be like, we'll get back to it.
Oh
So
my
yeah, it was
gosh.
quite funny.
That's so great.
Yeah.
That's so
It was
great.
good.
Okay, so then how do you find, because you mentioned having streamed to Twitch, but then you mentioned watching Stone and Spart. So were you, I know obviously you went with Pipeline, you stream on Facebook. Was
Yeah.
that always, after that first Twitch stream, was that always the first choice? Was it something you had to come around with? Did you start on Twitch and then realize, what was that start to get on Facebook?
So I actually kind of never even looked at Twitch. Like streaming really was a whole new world to me.
Okay.
Like I said, I had seen Stone and I watched a few, but it was never really like a massive thing for me back then.
And then
So
so sorry, how were you watching him? Were you watching his streams? Were you watching offline content?
I believe it all started when watching like random offline content.
Okay.
You know, when you're just scrolling through and it comes up,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. And like again, just because I was into gaming, and I was just curious, like I would then like start watching some of the streams like live.
Yeah.
So it kind of like naturally developed like that. But then so Facebook was always kind of like the social media that I was on. Twitch, I didn't even like think about Twitch. I never even had the like app downloaded. Like I'd never gone on it.
Really?
So for the reason I went on Twitch is because it was easy to do it from a console.
Yep.
So that was literally the only reason. Like I had to do it because like the tournament that got put forward, my tryouts was a requirement that I had to stream. So I was like, right, what's the easiest way to do that? Is just via console. So it was literally all just in that moment, very, very fast, very spontaneous. And like I said, on my bedroom floor with the console. And yeah, it was good. And then literally immediately after, I was like, I want to stream on Facebook. And the reason why I made that decision was because I generally thought not one person would want to watch me, but maybe my family might.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they are on Facebook. So I thought, okay, well, this isn't going to go anywhere. Like maybe my friends or maybe my mum might want to watch. So yeah, so that's that's why I chose Facebook.
Interesting. So wait, then what about, because I feel like so many quote unquote first streams, whatever, you stream, but you don't have necessarily any viewers, you don't have that. So what about the act of being live? Like, did you have any viewers? Did you have that interaction? Was that like, what about being live spoke to you in that way?
It was more so like, yeah, obviously I didn't get like loads of people in or anything like that, but it was more so of like I feel like there was kind of a form of camaraderie, if that made sense.
Yeah.
Like because the original reason why I was going for it, it was to connect with other gamers,
Yeah.
and that's something that I didn't really have at that point in time. So then I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm going into this tournament, which I'd never done before. Like I'm, going into a competitive tournament and meeting all these amazing gamers. And again, it was all around female gamers at the point in time, and that they were all going into each other's stream and supporting each other.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, really cool. And I really liked that. And I was like, just instantly hooked. I was like, wow, like maybe this could be something. And that's when I started looking into it a lot more and like just decided to just go for it, really.
And where was it that you were finding these communities? Because I know, especially when you're starting off, it can be difficult to find groups of people like that. So were you just like, was it a Facebook group? Did you already have friends that were in a little bit of a community that you could hop into? How did you
Yeah,
find that right away?
I think it was pretty much someone, I'm not sure if it was like recommended by someone, and then yeah, and then I was just kind of like put forwards for it, if that makes sense. It was like a
Yeah.
very weird scenario of how it happened. Like I said, it was all very quite like fast and spontaneous. And I think like my like people around me knew that I wanted to, like, I was kind of good at the game, and
Yeah.
that I wanted to kind of take it a little bit more seriously and take it to another level. And yeah, I don't know. I think I was just like kind of fell into that. So far throughout this whole like year and a half journey, I've just fallen into the right place at the right time. And that's very much how it feels throughout every single moment of this.
I love that. Would you say that that's indicative of how you live the rest of your life and kind of the energy you move around with? Or is this something that's been different?
So I think so. I think I'm a strong believer of what will happen will happen, right? And like what's meant to be will definitely play its way out, really. Um so yeah, I mean, like I said, from when I first started this, I definitely thought that, well, because I went in with no expectations.
Yeah.
The fact that I've even got to here is like a massive achievement for me. So that's where I think that whole, yeah, well, if anything happens, I didn't expect that at the beginning, so everything's a bonus, right?
That's so yeah, because you were all what job were you doing at that time? Did you have the same job for this last year and a half that you were able to give up, or did you move between others?
So I work for the NHS,
Okay.
which is our national healthcare service.
Okay.
So I've done loads of different roles. I've got I've got an undergrad, so I've got my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I've got my master's in clinical psychology. So
I had no idea. You wait,
yeah,
aren't you only like early 20, like 23 or 24?
I'm a little bit older now.
Oh my God, wait,
So
you're 27.
I've just turned 28, like literally, like,
Just, oh
yeah,
my
just turned
gosh.
28.
Holy
So
hell. Okay.
yeah, so I went down all of that route, got my master's in clinical psych, and was kind of working my way into maybe going for my doctorate, and yeah, going down there. But so I work for the, yeah, like I said, the National Healthcare Service, and it's great and I love it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this kind of came up, and it was just a whirlwind. Everything was going really, really well, and we were just growing, and I was enjoying it, and my passion just grew and grew and grew. Like it's very much been getting hand in hand that I just, like I said, I instantly fell in love with it. But it was just blowing my mind every single time. Like we were achieving something else, and yeah, it was amazing. But I decided in August that I wanted to go full time. I didn't want to just like give up everything that I had kind of worked my way up to.
Yeah.
So I do still work there, but very part-time. So
Really?
I work there in my mornings, yeah. So
Wow. So
yeah.
you said full time. Have you secretly been doing this? I mean, not secretly, but have you actually just kind of still been working there this whole time? Or was there
Well,
a
yeah,
point where
I
you were just like, I want to go back. I like need that.
well, during the time I was like, so I transitioned kind of like, I had the 2 months notice that I had to give up, like, working up to August, that I have to give. And then during that time, loads of people left. They went on like sabbaticals and they were doing all these things. And I didn't like seeing them short staffed. And I was like, do you know what?
Wait,
um
Nick, are you literally you don't so am I correct in the understanding that you don't have to work there, but you essentially feel bad and do it anyway?
I think, but it's also for me, it's also good that I do want to still work there because, like I said, it's something that I've built up to at that point in time. So I was getting closer to August, and I thought, "Do you know what? It would be a shame if I totally lost this." And I kind of want to keep I kind of just want to keep my mind going, like going in that kind of way, working for the NHS and doing all the good work that I was doing there. So I decided, you know what, I'll try to see what works best for both sides,
Yeah.
where I can pursue my career in streaming and content creation, and also while still being there and helping out. But yeah, kind of what you said is right. But yeah.
That's wild. So then, I mean, you also, while you do seem like a very nice person and you would help and be of support to those who need it, it also just sounds like you enjoy it as well. Like you get to, it's not as though you were in that unfortunate situation that so many were, where it was, you're like drudging along doing this terrible job just to support your stream. It was something that you still wanted to do and want to build together. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely got to a point though where like I needed to do this. Do you know what I mean? I felt
Yeah.
like I needed to start putting my all into content creation. And I'm not gonna lie and think sometimes even now it would be an easy choice to give up that kind of part time in the morning. So because I mean, puppies, that a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, it never ends. It
No,
it
you're always
really
working.
doesn't. Always working, always on the go. And like I feel like you don't always like there's never a sense of like fulfillment. Like there's always more you can be
Yeah.
doing, and um that's hard sometimes. So like would it be easier if I kind of gave that up and I like threw my all mornings into this as well? Yes. It would be a
Yeah.
lot easier. But for now, I do still enjoy it, and I think it's still an important part of me. That's like I said, that's kind of what I built up to. So I definitely
Yeah.
kind of want to keep doing that as long as I possibly can. And then
S-
and yeah,
So you,
basically.
and you've used the word built up a couple times. So is there something specifically with your job that you have built in a way that you would be losing and would not be able to gain back if you
y-
left? Are you able to
well,
go
yeah,
into what you do a little bit more for that?
yeah, I mean, not necessarily wouldn't be able to gain back, but like I feel like I'm just in a quite very like a very good position. I'm in a
I love that.
very fortunate position, like, with my team and like my, how as a position you are in as your role within a team, kind of working within a career.
Yeah.
I mean, they have been very supportive. They know about streaming. They've
I
been
love that.
extremely supportive of that. And I think the agreement with me going part time there rather than just fully leaving was definitely like a 50-50 thing. Like,
Nice.
I'm helping them out, and also they're helping me out. So I'm not going to lie, it is quite nice knowing that I do have that as a backup. Content
Yeah.
creation can be very up and down and
Oh
uncertain.
yeah. Yeah.
Very uncertain. So, like, the idea that I've throughout going quote unquote full time, which I have, this is still my main gig, my main
Yeah.
income. It is still nice knowing I've got that there as a backup. So I've not worried, like I've not been in a threat going, oh, how am I going to pay the bills this month?
Yeah.
Because I've got that there.
That's so interesting. So yeah, where so many people I would feel would find that as a stressor, it's literally just helping you be able to do this.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And so then talk to me about the months leading up to like that decision. What was going through your brain? Were you feeling stressed or anxious about the amount of time you wanted to work with stream? Was it like, what was, yeah, walk me through you kind of figuring out that this was something that you wanted to put more time in to.
Yeah. So a lot of people had been saying it like anyway that I should have gone full time a lot earlier than when I even did. I
Yeah.
feel like it went at the perfect time, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of like I'll just give you a kind of layout of what I used to do. So like my normal job would be like a 9 till 5, and I'd literally rush home as soon as I probably like possibly can. Like try to go live as close as 5:30. So try to keep my stream hours. That I feel like that's a keeping your hours consistent in
Oh, yeah.
streaming is a key thing.
Oh, yes.
Having a routine for both you and your viewers, right? So I try to make it so 5:30 I'll be on every single day. And like even now I'm live every single day. I don't have a day off.
How do you
So
do that?
I love it. I just love streaming so much. I
Okay,
don't
that's
see
fair.
it
Continue.
as a thing. It helps me.
I love it.
So yeah, so basically I would go live straight away, and usually you're live what 4, 5 hours.
Yeah, well,
So
yeah.
minimum 3, right?
Oh, yeah.
So really, so I was working from 9 till 5, rush home, go live at like at 5:30, get on, and then I wouldn't be getting off until like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And that's every day. And it got to the point I was like, right, I love streaming. I love it so much. And I think it was time to see where I could go with it. I was smashing some massive achievements with the little time that I've been streaming, and, getting invited to some amazing, amazing like things and massive opportunities that I was getting, falling in with the right people. I thought, you know what? Imagine how much further I could go if we did put more time into this. So yeah, it kind of led up to that decision, and
Do you
I'm very,
recall
very thankful.
do you recall in your timeline when that was? So was that earlier this year? Was that end of like how long of a plan has this been for you? Was it
Yeah.
relatively soon?
It definitely wasn't because I was still in disbelief.
Oh,
So
okay.
one thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about like this thing later, but um I would say that, like, I definitely have imposter syndrome, like, almost
Interesting.
like,
Okay.
um, not like diagnosed or anything, but it's
Yeah.
definitely
Not
I don't ever
diagnosed or
not
anything.
diagnosed.
Nice.
Yeah. But it's definitely something where I feel like, why me? Like, why do I deserve this? And
Yeah.
I don't see how anybody could choose me over someone else. And even when people come in and like, oh, you're one of my favorite streamers, I'm like, no, like I
No, you're
can't be.
not.
There's so many
Yeah.
people out there. Why me? And yeah, so it was definitely late for me, and like all of my whole support system around me, like they were all going like, you need to do this, you need to go for it. Like you clearly love it. Look how well you're doing. And it was my decision that all right, let's at least get to a year. If I
Nice.
know I've been streaming every single day up until a year, then it's not just like a fad, right? It's not just something that will pass. And I kind of proved that to everyone, and proved it to myself. And yeah, I would say after that, quite soon after that, I was like, okay, my thought process, we're going to see how it is, try it out for a couple of months, see whether it can be financially viable as well.
Yeah.
And then yeah, from then on it was pretty much good to go. Just after that kind of year mark, that's where I really started taking it seriously and was like, yeah, I can do this.
That's so cool. And then since you just mentioned that we're going to talk about it, let's talk about that imposter syndrome. Is that does that live in multiple areas of your life and it bled into streaming, or was it are you yeah, what's that?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the things that I think kind of goes alongside of things of like wanting to be like a perfectionist, like wanting everything to. I want to be proud of my work that I put out. I want to be proud of what I do, and like sometimes feeling like it's not good enough, you
Yeah.
know. And it kind of goes through the same way of that. And when I first started streaming, I literally didn't think one person will watch me. Like, why would they watch me? Right.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, when it started happening and more people started coming through, and, all these really key moments that, like, as a streamer, everyone will have like little moments that they will always remember. Right.
Oh yeah.
And looking back at some of them, and I'm like, wow, like that's wild. Or why would that happen to me? And I just see the amount of work that other people put in, right?
Yeah.
And I don't see them getting the same things. And I'm like, why? Like, why is that?
Yeah.
Why am I and why aren't them? And then that probably does go back to um me always seeing the best in other people, right? I always see other people's potential, but I
Yeah.
don't necessarily see it in myself. So a bit more self-love. I know that's something that I need to practice for sure. But
So I love that. And what has that looked like for you? What has helped you? What tools do you try and use? What's your method of feeling as though you're belonging? Of
yeah,
telling yourself that you do deserve to be there?
I think it's just like, just practicing to be kind to yourself really and do all the things that make you happy. I think again in the world of content creation, and if there are any other streamers out here, I think we all can sometimes fall into a trap of, all things are going a bit downhill. Is it me? We always
Yeah.
we always blame ourselves, right? You always look at yourself first because you're the one on the camera. You're the one
Yep.
doing this. Like can be very lonely. Um, and I think you need to be kinder to yourself, and you need to respect the amount of work that you're putting into it, and just know that things go up and down. It is a roller coaster, and it's nothing to do with you. And sometimes it's just the game, right? It's just the way it happens. But I think just go back to like my roots into what makes me happy. So like boxing. I love
Nice.
boxing. um, you love your sport and exercise and like getting yourself out there, even if it's going out, spending time with my dogs and walking them and visiting places that I enjoy being, sometimes taking a day off and going and see my family, that just puts you back to a grounded state, and it just helps relieve all of those and like that negative energy away from you, and you know allows you to continue.
I love that. So what would you say is your go-to me thing? Your go-to feel good, or I'm not feel good, but just feel better, feel lighter, feel more at
Yeah,
peace.
I think my mum. It
Really?
sounds awful, but
No, that does not, don't
yeah.
judge, no need to judge yourself for what makes you feel the most peaceful and happy.
Yeah, I mean, like
And what is
the
it
my
about mom?
yeah, it's just she can always put me back into perspective. Like
I
again,
love
we can
that.
always get into the moment where we think little things can get to you, and it just takes that someone to turn around to you and be like, everything's gonna be all right. It's really not a big deal, and we can get through this. Or if it feels like a deal for you right now, I'll sit there and I'll talk through it. And it's just the way she is, and I think that really, really is a good eye opener for me, and it makes me realize, oh yeah, actually things aren't as bad as what they appeared, or
Yeah.
I just needed that release. I needed just to get it off my chest, and yeah,
What
it is she's amazing.
was that something you've always had with mother? Because I'm still so curious, because that is that's so beautifully and emotionally mature and connected between mother and a daughter. And I know you have your master's in clinical psychology. So like have you like helped structure the healthy mental state of those around you like via that? Or was that just sort of a passion and it kind of is all just worked? I don't even know if this question makes sense. I'm just still like,
Yeah, I know. I think it does. I think unsubconsciously, yeah. I feel like even from a really young position, like so to kind of go into like some background on my mum,
yeah,
she was an orphan.
okay.
So she, like, even from when we were younger, she always expressed like milestones of like when I turned certain ages, like, at that point her parents were gone, and she would say to us like, that was a big moment for her because all of those kind of emotions that she had during that, and we were always very aware of that. So kind of like I was always thought when I was younger, someone else always has it worse. Someone
Mm,
else has it worse. So I should always be blessed and I should always be grateful for what I have. And I don't know, I've always kind of carried that mantra, whether she kind of subconsciously passed that on to me or
yeah.
whether it's something that she meant to happen. Um, because hearing my mum's story, I was always like, oh my gosh, yeah, like at that young age, I couldn't have ever imagine not having her around. So um that's how it kind of turned to me. And then, yeah, I think naturally I was always had a passion for mental health. It fascinated me, intrigued me that people can experience certain things, but also a passion in terms of wanting to help people and support them through that.
I love that. And I want to, because you said something very, very interesting, which was in terms of comparative suffering. Do you, in terms of someone else will always have it worse, do you find yourself dismissing your own struggles because of that? Do you allow your like, does it interfere with your own processing of your own difficulties and the own appreciation of what you've gone through in any way?
Yes and no. So
Okay.
I would say like for things that have happened, like, when you kind of, yeah, like when things that happen when you were younger, um, definitely. But it also has helped me. I mean, we had a little bit of a discussion of like the other day, and I'll kind of happily bring it up here is
Yeah.
it was the feeling of like anger, right? When I was younger, I used to actually be really angry all the time, and I used to fight a lot. I used to get
Really?
myself wound up a lot, yeah. And yeah, it was really really strange. And I used to, I was always a good kid, always good, always very, uh, like grade A student. Always getting like my high scores on all my tests and everything like that, and worked hard. But on the other side, it was like almost like a flick of a switch, and yeah, it got to a point where like you just don't want to be like that anymore, right? You don't want
Yeah.
to be angry anymore, um,
Was there a
and
specific
you kind of,
instant that led to that? Or was it just a
um,
general, if you're willing to and want to
no,
talk about
yeah, no,
that?
that's absolutely fine. It was definitely more much like a general thing.
Okay.
As I kind of like phased out of, um, and then basically I saw what anger and hate and these negative feelings that are still beautiful feelings, because
Yeah.
it's great to be able to feel, right. But I saw what these feelings had on people, and it had on me at the time. So if I'm angry at someone or at something, then that's got power over me, right. and
Yeah.
i and I learned that again from quite a young age, like after I was going through all of that kind of stuff, that, do you know what? I'm giving other people power here.
Yeah.
The people that I'm angry about. And I felt almost even more embarrassed that I was kind of giving them that power to control me in that kind of way. And I do not want to be that person. So yeah, so that's kind of then I
And
got
what
myself out of that, and
what age
yeah.
was that happening? Because that's a very emotionally mature response to have.
I would say like kind of 14, 15 upwards.
Really?
Yeah, I was fighting quite a lot like before then, I think, at school with like other people,
And
and
we're
like things would happen, and yeah.
and so this was all from you? Were you in therapy? Were there conversations with counselors with your mother, or was this kind of a self assessment?
Um Self-awareness, really, I think.
Have you always
Um
been this self aware?
Maybe, I don't know. Again, with mum being like what she taught us when she was
Yeah.
younger, like my mum was very like, I've always brought up quite very open, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I got my tongue pierced, for example, right? I had that done when I was 12 or 13. And like
What?
my mum went to take me to get my tongue pierced, right? And that wasn't because, basically anything that I wanted to do, she would sit down with me and we'll talk about the pros and cons. So she was like, right,
Oh
let's
my
talk about the pros
gosh.
and cons. And if we talk about all the cons and you still want to do it, and this is your decision and you're your own person, and I will be there with you, rather than me going off and doing it behind her back and it going wrong and it, then having negative effects. She would rather
Yeah.
be there with me on that journey, because she never had that guidance. She never had that around her. I was really good at school. I was doing everything I needed to do, and it was something, to this day, like I've never, I've never taken drugs. I've never, I don't smoke. I've never smoked.
Yeah.
I don't really drink. Like, I'm a good kid.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, so anything like that, she saw it as a form of self-expression, and
Yeah.
she was always there to help us express ourselves in any way we could, because she never had that when she was younger. So
That's beautiful. That's beautiful and so fortunate because especially with a situation of being an orphan, like it could have ended up the other way where she just ended up perpetuating whatever she lacked to her kids,
mm,
but she ended up like fixing and healing and giving you what she wanted and what she needed. And that's so amazing to just be able to
yeah,
talk to your mom about that at such a young
yeah,
age and
she's
to feel
incredible.
that comfortability of communication. Like that's so cool. Do you have that with your dad? Is it a family thing? Is it more so prominent with mother?
Mum.
I love that.
So definitely with mum. I mean, so dad was kind of like out the picture very early doors.
Okay.
So he was like kind of never around. And that's where, like, do you remember what we just said earlier about like kind of like those negative feelings that
Yeah.
someone has, and you have to kind of process to go through that.
Yep.
That was for us, that was mainly about him. Yeah,
I
like
get
us
you.
going through that. And yeah, and like I said, it got to the point for me that I weren't gonna let anybody else have any kind of I weren't gonna hold any of those resentment. They got to a point where I was just like, I'm just gonna let it all go, and I'm not gonna feel that anymore. I don't want that around me anymore. It doesn't define me. It's not gonna change who I am or what I'm gonna be doing forward, like in the future. So I don't need to hold it. And ever since then, it kind of like, I don't know, it was kind of a beautiful moment to get to that point and see the world in that kind of way, you know?
That yes. That's
Mm.
beautiful. That's very healthy. That's so I mean, of course, unfortunate that your dad wasn't around, but that's I mean, yeah, I didn't have I was in the same situation. Father wasn't around either, but I had a mother
Mm.
who made it so that I didn't really miss. I mean, I don't want to say that you didn't miss having that father. I don't want to assume, but it
Yeah.
seems as though you had a similar situation in that your mother did a great job and that you didn't need to miss what wasn't there because she was given
Yeah.
that for you. She was that rock for you. And that's
Definitely. I mean,
so fortunate.
naturally you do kind of you don't know what you're missing. So during that
Exactly.
at the time when you're a kid though, like you think you're missing something, right? Like you think that
Was
you
that
should have that.
prominent for you?
Not majorly, no.
Okay. Do you
No.
have an instance because of when that might have struck you the most?
I think it was when like friends were being like
Mm.
really disrespectful to their parents and like talking about their dad in like a really negative way. And I was like, well, at least you have one.
Oh my.
Like at least you like it was very much like
Nice.
that for me.
That's fair.
um
That's fair.
yeah, yeah, I remember a few moments like that, and then it kind of put them back into check. But then that was the same similar thing that mum done for us,
Yeah.
and again, just grounding us and just making sure because she went through that whole thing of like after she would become very very angry, and she had to go through that transition, like you know as a young child, and then losing your parents, and then obviously having us. I'm her youngest, um, and she had us all quite young, so
How many siblings
yeah,
do you have?
two other siblings, two older sisters.
Oh my goodness. So it was the
Yeah.
four of y'all for the most part?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and then my uncle who would, when he wasn't deployed, he was with us. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it was lovely. So,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
so I'm the youngest. I'm the baby. I'm the one that's, yeah, just spoiled. I
I
guess in
mean,
a way, weren't even that spoiled, but
lies. Dude, that
it
is
was good.
so then and then walk me so that's oh my gosh, that's so great. So then let's get back to streaming. How did you find pipeline in that? Like that's kind of what the last thing I wanted to touch on
Mm.
because I know how amazing that's been for you. What was there the yeah, like how did you get into pipeline? What brought you to that?
Yeah, so I saw pipeline around anyway. Obviously, when you start looking up
Yep.
streamers, you see, oh, what's that pipeline logo? And like you start Googling it a bit more. Like I wanted to learn about streaming, and it's pretty much one of the things it like advertises, right? It
Yeah.
teaches you about streaming. And I thought when it got to the point now when I was even considering of like, okay, maybe I should take this more seriously. I obviously already had my eyes on pipeline, and I was like, look, now's the time to invest in myself, right?
Yep.
It's not just a hobby anymore. It's now time that I want to invest and I want to become better. So at that point, um, it wasn't even like I think people join Pipeline for different reasons. For me, it wasn't about networking. It wasn't about like putting my name out there or anything like that. It was purely just an internal thing of I want to get better and I want to learn. And
Nice.
it was just kind of the obvious place to go to. At that point in time, I was very close within Chadwick's community.
Nice.
I was always there, and he literally said to me, "You need to join Pipeline. Like, just stop thinking about
Nice.
it. Just do it. Like, just stop. Just I'm in an iron about it. You have to do it." So, yeah, I joined it in January this year, and I've just loved it ever since. Like being able to talk to people that actually inspire you and to ask questions. Like, there's no other place you can just openly ask questions and like get a response, about whether it's something that other people have experienced or something you're considering, maybe something in the future. It's just a full wealth of knowledge within that kind of
Yeah.
community there, which
And
is
you
awesome.
and you seem like a very curious, I would love to find this information out type of person. So that seems right up your alley.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And
Oh,
like I said, even if just hearing about like, and obviously Stone is in there, and like I used to watch Stone. I was like a long time, kind of supporter of Stone. So then to even have him talking in like a Zoom call with all of us, I was
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this is insane. Like this is insane, and that's throughout all of this. That's all I've been thinking. Like this whole journey has just been out of this world, insane. It's been
Yeah.
so good.
That's so beautiful. So what are you looking forward to the most for the rest of the year? We have a month and a week almost. What do you have any amazing end of the year goals that you're trying to achieve? Are you starting to think about next year? What's the
Ooh.
rest of the end of 2022 looking like for Knickknacks?
Oh, wow. Celebrate Christmas with
I
everyone.
love
That's
that.
always a fun time of the year. Might throw out some like pretty cool giveaways and all that good stuff. Um, but mainly, in terms of like goals, in terms of stream goals, um, and this might sound quite bizarre because I've managed to do within my like again my short time of streaming, um, I've got my partnership and I've hit loads of different milestones, and I've just hit 10,000 followers.
Nice.
And I think some people think I should have more, but I don't know. I think for
What do you think?
what I've achieved, I think I'm very happy with where I'm at, and I
I'm not
think I've
surprised by
got
that
a
answer.
awesome, yeah, I've got an awesome community. Like they're so cool. They're just incredible and super super supportive. So I cannot be proud of where I am right now. Um, Obviously, yeah, just onwards and upwards though, right? I just see where we get to. Um, Obviously for that the end of this year we've literally only just hit the 10K, so I
Yeah.
don't think I've got any more goals for the end of this year, but definitely for next year. um we'll see, we'll kind of see what's in store for us.
Oh my gosh. And I just thought of this question because I feel like it's going to be very difficult for you. Because you are a very, very, very gratitudinal. I don't gratitudinal. You whatever the word is, you exude great gratitude and appreciation for what you have. What would be the one thing that you would ask the universe for?
Oh my gosh, that's so
I
difficult.
know.
Oh, that is extremely difficult.
And it has to be for you. You can't ask the universe for someone else. That you have to take care of Nicola for this.
Me,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh my gosh, that's incredibly hard. I've not even been asked that before.
I know.
Oh, I know. I would dream, absolutely dream to one day be able to go to one of like the conventions or even be invited, like actually invited, not just pay for a ticket and
Yeah.
go, but to like a COD event or like something massive with like everyone else, like meeting all the streamers like out in America. Like for me, that would be an absolute dream.
You should put that out into the world
Yeah,
because I think that
maybe.
would be awesome. I know so many amazing members of your community in the streaming world would love to get to hang out with you and be sober with you and hang out. So that would be a blast. Uh, but dude, thank you so much for coming and doing the podcast and having this lovely conversation. This was
It's
so
been
amazing,
amazing.
and I
No,
am
thank
so
you.
thankful for your time and for yeah, just for your existence as an amazing human being because you brought so much joy and levity and just beautiful nuggets of wisdom to not only myself but every single person that watches you and engages in your content. And so it's very very special. So I greatly appreciate you. Uh,
Ah, I appreciate you.
is there?
And to be fair, I will say, whilst we're here, I want to thank you actually for, because obviously it's very easy in the streaming world for people to get stuck up on like followers and so to speak. But you were one of the rare ones to pick me up when you didn't care about what I had and what size we were, as a creator or as a community. And you definitely gave me some amazing like opportunities as well that definitely put my name more on the map and got people to know me a little bit more. So I want to take this moment to thank you.
Well, you I hate compliments, but you are welcome. I will accept that. Uh, and yeah, just I mean that's luck is opportunity meets preparation. It doesn't matter if you don't have the fucking following. You were an amazing entertainer and a lovely human being, and I like cool people. So
Yeah.
just keep being yourself. Before we head out of here, where can the people find you?
Over on Facebook, NickNaks94. You know it.
Love that. Nick, I appreciate you. Thank you
I
so much.
appreciate you.
I'm going to
Thank
do,
you.
of course, I will see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, if you can mute or dip, I'm just going to do a little tiny outro. It's up
That's
to
it.
you. So that was another beautiful episode of the What the Fluff podcast. We had the amazing NickNaks94. I hope you guys were able to take away just too much amazingness. So thank you guys for tuning in. And yeah, I appreciate you guys for listening. We'll be back next week with another amazing interview episode of the What the Fluff podcast. I greatly appreciate you guys. Remember, you're only as amazing as you treat other people, so be kind to someone for no other reason than it's the awesome thing to do. I love you, and I'll catch you on another episode next week. Good night!